Welcome to the Everyday Board Game Podcast with Daniel.
And Daniel,
Happy Friday, Daniel. How you doing today?
doing pretty good. Just getting some stuff done around the house. Other than that, chilling.
You lead an exciting life. No, we're excited because we're hopefully going to be playing some games tomorrow, so I'm looking forward to that. Uh,
As am I. That's why I'm doing a lot of cleaning around the house because the wife told me to.
right? I know I've been using my time to build stuff around the house. As weird as that sounds, it keeps me from cleaning. If the wife orders more furniture and that's my task, I'm okay with that because then she'll clean up the area, I'll build the furniture. It works out, right?
Well, the thing is, what we're doing since we're planning on having a game night with our normal, what is it, 4 people usually. It's
Mm-hmm.
3 to 4, something like that.
Yep.
And so I just disinfect and clean the house up and make it
Yeah.
easier for everybody, being as safe as possible.
Exactly. Exactly. And we've all been quarantining, so this should be all good to go. But
And quarantining after too.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's the goal. So, but with that being said, so we don't have much to talk about. Not that we talk about it on Fridays of what we played anyway.
Yeah.
But going into this debate, I think I am in the minority. I absolutely love this company. I mean, when you suggested it last week, I was like, yes, absolutely. But I was worried that you had not played enough of them.
We had to dig through the dredges to find 8 games, but we were able to do it. So
Well, we were able to do it, yeah. So I think this will be a really fun debate. Personally, I don't think we'll argue nearly as much, but I say that every week, and I am quite surprised every week.
So I know for sure too we're gonna argue a lot about for like in the first round, just because
Hmm.
those 2 brackets, the 3 and the 6 and the 2 and the 7, are my favorite brackets.
Yeah, yeah. I think so too. Those are definitely my favorites. Um,
And
one
there's
one seems
actually
pretty
one
clear
game on here that I hate with a passion.
that you and I both dislike, right? Yeah. I mean, well, you hate it. I don't mind
I
it.
know I am not a huge storytelling fan
No.
or into the storytelling games, and I've played this twice, and I was miserable both times.
Yeah. Well, you know they actually made a real game based on the Rory Story cubes. It's called like Untold, I think, and it uses story cubes to actually tell a story. But I mean, it's nothing like we've talked about Before There Were Stars
Yeah,
from
that
Smoke
one
and
was
Dagger.
fun.
Yeah, like that's a perfect example of that. If there were more people tomorrow, maybe I would have brought it. I don't know. Maybe I still will. We'll see.
Yeah, so we'll see what's going on tomorrow. I'm going to
Hmm.
send that group text, like I said, later.
All right.
But other than that, you ready to get going on to the people's honorable mentions?
Absolutely. Let's do this. So as always, we take the top 8. We make a poll on the Board Game Revolution group on Facebook, and we add in the 8 that we add in are the 8 that Daniel and I have both played and are also the highest ranked on Board Game Geek. So for obvious reasons, if we don't put it on the list, it either wasn't within that top 8, or one or both of us have not played it. So, and that will be a couple examples in our honorable mentions, as well as some that are listed here. We'll start at the very top of the list of which one was most voted for, and go down to the ones that were not voted for. And I think the first one that I see is they all just had a single vote, except for Forbidden Island, which was not on our list because Forbidden Desert is on our list, and when we go through trilogies and expansions and revisits and all those, we try to keep it normally at 1.
Yeah, and a big part of that too is Forbidden Desert, Forbidden Island, and Forbidden Sky. They all pretty much play the same way. They just introduce new rules here and there, but it's logistically the same game
Yeah.
with harder rules, little tweaks here, like within Desert. Forbidden Island is the simplest one. Forbidden Desert, you have the storm and the dirt piles that you have to dig out to
Mhm.
get underground. And Sky, you have to be worried about being blown off the side of the thing and the wind
Yep.
direction and stuff like that. But in
Right.
essence, you still do the same actions. You do a couple things, bad things happen, keep going. Or is it in this one, it's bad things happen in the beginning, then you do a couple things.
Yeah. Yeah, either way. Yeah, so with 3 votes, I'm sorry, no, 5 votes, Forbidden Island was our top voted for honorable mention. And like I said, the only reason why, and that would be pretty clear, I personally like Island quite a lot, probably a lot more than most people. But it's either 50-50. Everybody's favorite is either Island or Forbidden Desert.
Mm-hmm.
Mine is Desert for sure. But everybody who I
My
normally game with, outside of like yours and my group, Daniel,
yeah.
like my normal Friday groups, Island hands down is their favorite.
See, my personal favorite is Desert,
Yeah.
but I absolutely adore Island, except for that first time I got introduced to it, and I thought it was a ridiculous game, because there's something everybody needs to learn if you ever play a game with Daniel over there.
If it's co-op.
Never, ever let him shuffle the cards when it's co-op. Never. It is a running gag at the shop too. Whenever he just turns and says, "Hey guys, should I shuffle this deck?" The whole crowd will scream no.
No. Yeah, it's pretty
And it's
fantastic.
because the first time I ever played Forbidden Island, this is when I was just getting into gaming, and I was with my wife at the time with doing this. That's actually, I think, the game where I met our mutual friend Bryce. Was when we were playing Forbidden Island, and the first card was Water Rises.
The first
And
two
then the
cards.
second, yeah, the first, no, I was gonna say, and then the first card was Water Rises, and he's
And
like,
the
oh,
second card.
that could have gone better. And then the next card was Water Rises, and he's like, oh, yeah, so let's go ahead and make this already difficult for us, and yet we won somehow.
Yeah, well, see, despite my best efforts, you did all right. No, that worked out. I mean, it happens that way. So, but Forbidden Island is awesome. It has a close spot in my heart as well. I mean, that was the first one. It's like Pandemic Light, although as much as I like Pandemic more, probably. Yeah, I don't hate that one for sure. My kids love it. You want to take the next one?
Yeah, and the next one on our list, going along with that line, is the other one in that trilogy, and this is Forbidden Sky.
Mm-hmm.
It had one vote.
One vote.
So I've noticed something.
Yeah.
Go into this topic here is, other than like the creme of the creme, the top couple games, nothing else really got any votes.
Right.
It's just like that's all they stay to. No one really in this group wants to go for these lighter games.
Yeah, and that's a shame. Like, I feel like there's a stigma against these lighter games. You can't see too many behind me. You see Forbidden Sky right here. That's a game, right? But I actually have all three Forbiddens in there. But if I were to pan up a little bit, you would see Abandon All Artichokes. You would see Dungeon Drop. You would see like a bunch of other Gamewright games that I do genuinely like. And I'm okay with light games because they have that strategy. I think what happened is everybody saw how simple their card games were and were like, nah, these are kids' games. And then immediately shut them down from then on out without even giving it a try. So, I mean, that we're going to have some interesting debates because very few people voted in this compared to our previous votes.
Yeah, and so for me, Forbidden Sky is my least favorite of the three. It's not horrible, but it's not something I'm going to go out of my way to play. There's a lot going on in this one that makes me feel a little convoluted than when you're playing the simplicity of Island or Desert.
Yeah.
I mean, Desert has a lot going on, but it's nowhere near the way this one is because you're trying to build like these charges all the way across. This way you can get your rocket ship out of there.
Yep.
And so, yeah, it's not difficult by any means. It's along the same weight, maybe a little bit higher than Island, but around Desert's weight.
Yeah, and it's a little more convoluted than Desert. It's a lot meaner though.
It is a lot meaner.
It
It
will
really
hurt
is
you.
because you can get blown off, and then that's it for you guys.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I've lost within the first few turns, and I think that's a big factor in it. But that's just how it goes.
What's interesting about Forbidden Sky, it's the only one that isn't in a tin, and that's because of electronic pieces in it.
Yep. And that makes a lot of sense too. But that box is just big enough to hold all three games in it. So I don't have to deal with the tins anymore.
Nice.
Yeah. It was good fun. I'm very happy about that. Our next
Moving
one,
on.
we're going to go through these kind of quick. There's one called Outfoxed, which as I understand, neither of us have played, but it's a kids level deduction game, and I've heard it's actually really popular. It's a great kids game, and it's a good way to teach them deduction. I've been wanting to try it. It's been on my radar. I just haven't yet.
I'll talk about it a little later.
Okay, cool.
The next one on my list here is one I'm not familiar with, nor ever heard of, and that's Loot.
Loot. Yeah, it's a card game. It's actually a Knizia card game. I haven't played it yet, though. I've been wanting to. It's one of the older ones on the list, for sure. The next one added on by Ryan was Cube Quest, which that I want to say I have played, but I don't remember it. It sounds familiar, but I have not played it.
So we're going to go ahead and skip that one. So the next one on our list was added by your friend Peter here.
Yes.
And that is Gubs.
Gubs. Yeah, Gubs is pretty cool. I played it. It's like weird little monsters that are called Gubs. It's fun stuff.
Yeah, I've never played it, so.
Yeah. And I think, was that all of them? I think.
That's all of them.
Okay. So that was the honorable mentions from the viewers. Like I said, I have more honorable mentions than that.
I have 3 honorable mentions.
Yeah.
Two of which I haven't played before. So I do want to go ahead and talk about the comments real quick. Ying did say he voted for Forbidden Desert because that's the only game he's played on this list.
Yeah. Yeah, that kind of adds into that example of what we're talking about. And then Peter said, I added Gubs. I have several of the others, but Gubs is a great filler with moderate take-that tendencies. Great for family play. So, good family level game. I hope the people who voted on this list gets to come in and join us and watch this top 8 debate, and I hope they take something from it. I hope the viewers look at this and hear about new games that they haven't heard of before and why we enjoy them so much. And I hope this actually opens up the door for them to think about games in the future.
I mean, I can understand their liking, the ones that they like and stuff like that. But I really do, and again, you could say that a lot of these are filler games. But I like that sometimes after playing a really heavy game, I want to play that game that's lighthearted. We're having a good time. We're playing just something that makes us giggle and laugh like we were children back in the day. And I enjoy stuff like that. Yeah. Stuff that doesn't make me think too hard.
Yeah, exactly. It's a great come down from a heavy game. Like, we just need to have some silliness going on right now. A good, 20-30 minute game. Let's do this. Yeah.
And it's not to say that Gamewright doesn't make those hard, heavy hitters. I mean, you just look at the Forbidden series. They're family weight, but they're still a thinky style game where you have to be careful with what you're doing.
Right, exactly. And it's not, and all these other games, and including the honorable mentions that we're about to talk about, they have a level of strategy into it. It's not back in the day. The problem with a lot of kids games was that you would roll the die, you'd move that number of spaces, you'd follow the instructions. That's teaching kids to be subservient is all that it's all doing. Like, I mean, there's nothing.
Yeah, it doesn't give them critical thinking.
It doesn't give them any critical thinking, and that's why I think Gamewright, they started off as a game company, or not a game company, but like
a
toy company, right? And so for the longest time, they weren't in the hobby gaming market. They didn't go to the conventions like Gen Con and Origins. They only went to the toy fair, and it wasn't until recently that they started doing it. That's why they almost never do expansions, and they've just barely started doing promos. So, I mean, it goes to show their stance. But nowadays, if I see a Gamewright logo on a game, I'm interested because I know it's probably going to be like a 15-minute cool filler game. I'm ranting too much.
Yeah, but I think a big part of it, too, is also people kind of tend to avoid Gamewright games because these are games that you can find in the mass market. You can find it in Target. You can find them in Walmart.
Yep.
You can find them at Walgreens of all places.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean,
so I think that's a lot of reasons why people avoid them because they're like, oh, I can find this in Walgreens. Why it's not that important?
There's no way it's going to be good, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I get that. But we're about to prove everybody wrong. Why don't you start us off with the honorable mention, since I've played an obscene amount of Gamewright games.
So my first honorable mention, again, I've mentioned that 2 of them I have not played before, but I'm interested in getting to the table. One of them being Dragon Realm. I'm a huge fan of Dragonwood. It's probably one of my favorite filler games. It's so simple. You're rolling some dice. Well, this is Dragonwood. You're rolling some dice, and you're trying just to get a set collection. First one with the most points at the end of the game, once certain end scenario happens, wins. And I hear Dragon Realm is a step above that. They don't play as similar as you would think they would, but they're similar enough where it's like, okay, if you like Dragonwood, why don't you try this? This is a little bit more gamey for the people who are into gaming.
Yep. Yeah, it's a solid set collection game. I think you really did a good job. I could bring it tomorrow if you want to try it.
Yeah.
It's an awesome game. I've always loved Dragon Wood. I don't like Dragon Realm as much as I do Dragon Wood, but I am certainly happy to get it to the table anytime I get.
Sweet.
Cool. Good
Your
pick.
first one?
My first one is a weird little game that came in. It's basically a deck of cards, and it's a simple concept. It's called This Game Goes to 11. Yeah, it came in like a super shiny box that looked like a bass amplifier, and you even had like a little variant where you had a guitar pick or a bass pick, either one, and that was like a little token that you could pass around, and crazy things could happen. But essentially, what you're doing is you are placing down cards in a number of different stacks, and you, I think, do not want to be the person, or you want to be the person who pushes it exactly to 11. You don't want to push a pile over 11, and if you play under, you're okay, you're still in, but you want to hit exactly 11. And so
Okay.
when you're trying to play on these cards, you're trying to obviously aim for 11, but sometimes you'll have to play a card that pushes it over, in which I think you take the cards and it's penalized at the end of the game. But if you're able to play the same number, like let's say a 4 on top of a 4, then that actually splits off and creates another pile that then everybody can then play off of from there. So it's a cool little, simple little game, but has like the numbers I think 1 through 6 in it. I might be a little wrong. It's been a little while since I played it. But you're just chucking
Okay.
down some cards, playing different sets, trying to stick your opponents with situations that they can't play with. So it's a super fun game. This game goes to 11.
It's interesting. I've never even heard of this one. Mind you, I'm not in the same boat as some other people that
Right.
I haven't heard a lot of Gamewright games, and I've played at least 8 of them,
Yeah.
but they're not something I go out of my way for. They're hard to find sometimes, and
Yeah.
then with all the Forbiddens, I really don't need to buy the Forbiddens because you own it, another mutual friend owns it.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that I go out of my way.
Yeah.
I do want to pick up Trash Pandas because it's so simple, but
Yeah. Well, this
so
one,
like I said, I haven't heard of that one.
this game goes to 11 definitely flew under the radar. It really did.
Okay.
Almost nobody I met, I didn't even hear about it until after about 6 months of it being in a store. I don't remember which store that was, but I ended up buying it as soon as I heard about it, and I played it. It was awesome.
Nice. So my next one on my list, as I mentioned earlier, we'll talk about it a little later, and that's Outfoxed. It's not a game that I'm interested in playing myself, but I know a bunch of people who have younger kids who want to game with us. And everything I've read and researched about this game, this is the perfect game to introduce them at a young age. That, and I think My First Castle Panic is another good one because it teaches them the deduction. It teaches, and My First Castle Panic teaches them set matching and stuff like that. So these are very important games, especially if you want to get your kids into gaming. And everything I've seen is Outfox has just been gone over gangbusters with kids.
Mm-hmm.
It's got nice little pieces. It's a nice little fun game, and it's better than like some of those Hi-Ho Cheerios or those matching games and stuff like that.
No, those aren't games.
This one is actually not forcing children, but it's actually having children critically think, and they're having a blast doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And I know this is one of the games that I want to pick up for my mutual friends who have these young kids who are in kindergarten, who are in first grade, and stuff like that.
Yep. My kids are already too old for that, but I mean, I haven't played it, but so maybe it's something I would even like. It probably would be. My next one, so I just wrote one down because I want to play this one. And I kicked off one, so I'm going to give it a very quick shout out. It's called Cahoots. It's basically cooperative Uno, if that makes sense. You have to complete some objectives by playing Uno, like either matching color or number, and then you have to have all 4 of the cards available match criteria, like all of them have to be even, or they have to be total 15 or more, or they all have to be blue cards, something like that. Give me 1 second real quick. We gotta take a very quick pause. Alright, sorry about that. But the one that I replaced it for, which is also one I haven't played, but it sounds absolutely amazing, is called Marshmallow Test, which I think either just came out or is coming out.
You forgot about that one, didn't you? Because you were talking about it not too long ago.
I did, and what makes it so interesting, so it's a trick-taking game. Standard trick-taking, that makes sense right? I mean, you like trick taking, but it has one very, very interesting twist. Because the idea of a marshmallow test is I hand a kid a marshmallow, and I say, you can have this marshmallow right now. But if you wait 5 minutes, I will give you 5 marshmallows. And the question is, do you wait for that return, or do you get instant gratification? And that's the basis of marshmallow test. Essentially, you're taking tricks, and you're trying to get the most marshmallows, which they have little, like, soft marshmallow tokens as your scoring points, right? And so you're trying to get the most marshmallow points. The way you do it is standard trick taking. When you win a trick, you play a card. Everybody follows in the same color if they can. Whoever plays the highest of that color wins the trick. As soon as you hit your third trick, I believe, or it might vary depending on number of players, you are eliminated from the round. And you score points equal to all of the other tricks that other players that are still in the round have scored. So, if you and I are playing this, Daniel, and let's say our mutual friend Dom is playing, and you have 2 tricks, he has 2 tricks, and I go out, I get 4 points. But then now my tricks do not count for anybody else going down. So the last person isn't going to score anything. I love that idea. It just looks so cool.
It sounds interesting, but I don't like marshmallows, so that annoys me a little too.
Well, I mean, I'm sure they had to put warnings on the box to not eat the components, but, you know.
No, I get that. I don't mind marshmallows, like, if they're in s'mores, just because I got the chocolate and the graham cracker just to cover the marshmallow taste. But I can't eat marshmallows by themselves, or marshmallow fluff, or marshmallows on hot cocoa, just not a fan.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. And I have an idea for one of our Chits and Giggles discussions later. I will write this down and we'll discuss it later.
So, moving on to my final honorable mention here is, hey, guess what? It's the other game out of the 10 games of Gamewright Games I have played, and that is Forbidden Island. I do enjoy Forbidden Island. Like I said earlier, Forbidden Desert's my favorite out of the 3.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm okay with Forbidden Sky, but it will never make my list just because I'm not that big of a fan of it. But Forbidden Island, it's such a fun game. It's one of the games that got me into gaming, I'm not going to lie. I had a blast playing it at the shop. I still don't own it to this day, but I do really enjoy the game. It's just, I played this, and then not too long after that, I played Pandemic, and I fell in love with Pandemic more than I fell in love with Forbidden Island.
Yeah.
But it's still made by the same guy. Matt Leacock has done an amazing job when it comes to co-op games. And I really, really do enjoy Forbidden Island because it's simple. You're just trying to get 4 treasures. You're working together. You're trying to make sure the temple doesn't sink, and you're moving along. So that's why it's on my list. Makes
a lot of sense, yeah. I mean, I purposely didn't put any of the Forbiddens on my honorable mentions just because I knew we would be talking about them.
Yeah, well, I had to put a Forbidden on the list because I've only played 10 Gamewright games, and 3 of them are Forbiddens.
Well, we're going to be fixing that because I'm bringing this tomorrow, and that's my last honorable mention, Rolling America. And it's a roll and write game where you have a map of the United States. Each state is its own little area that you can write in, and there's different colored sectors in each of the sections. So you're going to be rolling 2 dice, I believe, on your turn, and you're going to be picking one of those dice to write that number in the appropriate section. So if I pick the orange die, I'll put that number, let's say it's a 4. I can put the orange 4 anywhere in the orange section. However, everything that I write from then on out that's touching that state must be 1 higher or 1 lower.
So if let's just say I put a 4 in Colorado, I'd have to put either a 5 in New Mexico or
a 3.
5 or 3 or a 5 or 3 in Utah.
Yep.
But if I put a 5 in New Mexico and I put a 3 in Utah, what happens with Arizona?
It's broken. Oh wait, no, you said a 5 and a 3 in New Mexico and Utah? Oh, well, Arizona can be a 4. That's fine, as long as it's 1 different than anything that's touching it.
Okay, what if it's a 6?
Then it's broken. Yeah, you can't put it there. And so that's the point, is that you're going to be force-fed all these numbers that you're, like, everybody's going to look at the dice and go, no! Like, I'm working in 5 and 6 up here. Why are you doing a 2? It's like, I can't get I have like 4 states to get to that. That's ridiculous. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it sounds interesting. It sounds like a good time.
yeah.
I just never. It was funny. You when we went through this list, you're like, "You've never played Rolling America?" What? I'm like, I only just started getting into rolling rights, so of
That's
course I
true. I
haven't
mean,
played it.
no, I just because it's been out for a while, and it was based off of Rolling Japan, which was a Japanese game, obviously set in Japan.
It's
Same
in
game,
Japan.
yeah. And then when they made the American version, it just made a lot of sense, and I really enjoyed playing it. So I could have sworn that I was not surprised that you hadn't played it. I was surprised I hadn't forced you to play it yet. That's how much I
You are
like
being
it.
forced, so which that's going to happen tomorrow.
Yes, exactly. All
All
right.
right, so you ready to get into our quarterfinals?
I am ready to do this.
As
We
always, we have 5 brackets. The way we break these down, we have ease of play, replay value, meaningful choice, game immersion, and art and production. All of
hmm
those have sub brackets that we break them down that we'll explain a little bit later when we get to the finals.
okay. And as always, we took the top 8, as I said earlier, highest ranked on Board Game Geek, and that's where our seeding is. We did have our viewers vote on it, and that will be tiebreakers if necessary. We do have a couple new caveats now that if you and I just cannot agree on one topic or other, we after a few minutes we just have to call it a wash, no matter
Yeah.
how it is. Which I know that can force certain things, or it could be people making up absurd comparisons or whatever. However it ends up, we got to be fair about it, and that's how we will. But this has such a varying level of styles of game. I'm really curious to see how it's going to work out. So, starting on the top, our number 1 seed, Sushi Go Party.
Faces our number 8 seed, Sneaky Cards.
Our number 2 seed, Forbidden Desert.
Faces our number 7 seed, Abandon All Artichokes.
Our number 3 seed, Dragonwood.
Faces our number 6 seed, Trash Pandas.
Our number 4 seed, Tiki Topple.
Faces our number 5 seed, Rory Story Cubes. And as always, when these things move on into the next round, we will reseed. So this way, the number 1 seed, if it moves on, will always face the lowest seed possible.
Sounds good. Let's begin. Oh, and we're each going to pick a side to this as well. The first one is going to be Sushi Go Party versus Sneaky Cards. Now I know which one you definitely prefer because the other one is not so much a game.
And hence why I think this is just pretty much easy to say Sushi Go Party will move on. Don't get me wrong, Sneaky Cards are funny. I think they're a bit of a game, but it's more a personal solo game.
So it's a game in a weird way, right? It is a personal
Yeah.
solo game. So let's talk about Sneaky Cards and why it may go on. We'll discuss. I'll go ahead and do the counter argument for Sneaky Cards because I'm very familiar with it. Sneaky Cards is a very simple concept. You have a deck of cards. Your goal is to get rid of them, and I mean physically get rid of them. Like you will have these cards that have a unique code on them. You go to the website, you put in that code, and then that deck is now yours forever and ever. The idea is it's called Play It Forward, where you're doing generally nice things for people, or hiding them in different places, or just doing something silly like doing the wave in a food court, or baking a gift for somebody, or complimenting them, like writing a haiku or something. And every single card is different. And when you do that task, you give them that card, and you encourage them to go onto the website, log that they have the card, and then do that task again and pass that card on to the next person. The idea behind it is to try and create this fun community. Now, the reason why I appreciated this so much and I was so excited to play it is because I used to go geocaching a lot back in the day. And there is a thing in geocaching, which if you're not familiar with geocaching, you have coordinates, you go find, it just needs a logbook, so it might be like a piece of paper or something, you sign, and it's hidden somewhere. Well, there's a thing called travel bugs, where that's the idea of them, is that you take a travel bug, you log on the website, and then you leave it in another geocache. And then the owner of that travel bug will see it travel throughout the world. And that's such a cool concept. It's such a meta game that I've always appreciated that idea. I've loved working with travel bugs. I own some of them my own. And yeah, it's a really fun time. And if you get rid of all your cards and sneaky cards, you win. That's it.
Yeah, but that's a very simple win scenario. It's basically just get rid of your cards. You're more so doing an activity than actually playing a game.
I mean, yeah,
And
it's
that's
more
the
of an
big issue
activity.
with it. It's more of an activity, and that's why I think it, as interesting as it shouldn't move on when we're talking about what is the better game. And it's because all you're doing is passing cards around. If you do this, hey, give this to someone, or you just got rid of that card.
Yeah.
Or, hey, let me sneak this into someone else's board game and then see if they pass it along as you go along. And those are interesting things to see, don't get me wrong, see how
Yeah.
far this card moves around and stuff like that. However, it's just that's it. You're the only one playing the game. No one else knows you're really doing this game because you're just trying to do what the card says.
Well,
Only people who, well, I know some people know you own it, but still.
the thing is though, if I give a card to you and you go onto the website and track it, you get to watch its progress too. So
Yeah, but here's
you
the
add
problem
more
with it.
players. Yeah.
What happens if you give it to someone who doesn't give it away, who just throws it away and it doesn't get logged anymore?
Which
Then
happens.
you're not playing that game anymore.
Yeah, then it stopped with them. It happens. I mean, it's such an insignificant price for the amount of fun that you have. It's okay. Like we've actually, a friend of mine, he got sneaky cards and handed it to somebody, and he actually watched them walk a couple steps and throw it away physically. And then he looked at me and he looked kind of bum at for a moment. I was like, "You got rid of the card. That's what you were supposed to do, and you followed the task. You got it. Sure, it was a little bummer, but it's like, that's 1 out of 50 something cards.
Yeah.
Whatever, you know.
Yeah, I get it, I do, but to me, it's not, other than let's say ease of play, simplicity, familiarity, and mechanism. You're just getting rid of the card. Hell, I could just do 52 card pickup, and it's the same game.
So you're saying it's easier, but
It's easier than Sushi Go Party, but not by much because all you're doing is getting rid
yeah.
of things.
Honestly, the only thing I would have honestly given sneaky cards is memorable moments. It and that makes and that's the whole game is just those memorable moments.
Yeah, but see, to me, it's not even that memorable of moments because, again, I'm not playing the game. Not a lot of people are really interested in playing the game. It's such a niche thing.
Yeah.
Whereas with memorable moments with Sushi Go Party, I've played Sushi Go, playing with other people while we ate sushi. There's stuff going around. It's something that you can actually play and drink and actually have sushi while doing it. So,
All right. Well, let's hear the counter argument for Sushi Go Party.
Sushi Go Party there's a reason why you have Sushi Go and there's Sushi Go Party, and then there's a third game in this line called Sushi Roll. It's such a phenomenal game and so simple that people like it. I mean, just look at Phil Walker Harding is on everybody's map right now. This is one of the first games that really got his name out there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a phenomenal game. It's a really simple drafting game. You're just moving along, grabbing cards what you need. Certain cards give you certain points, and a set collection of certain things will give you certain points. Different types of things can give you different points. There's many ways to get I like to call it a point salad drafting game because there's different combos that can give you different points, and you still have a chance of winning. This is where hate drafting comes in, and it's also a game that makes you hungry.
Yeah, and it does. Thankfully, I'm one of those people that don't like sushi, so it doesn't hurt me too bad. But I get it.
But the reason why I say Sushi Go Party goes on is because what it's done. So when you have Sushi Go, when you play that game, you have the same thing every time you play. Sushi Go Party allows you to take things in and put things out and switch it all up, and this way it's a different game the next time you play it. And so I find it a very intriguing game in that aspect. Like I said, there's a lot of memorable moments. Playing the game while eating sushi is one of them. Making meaningful choices. You're trying to draft the right card to help you win the game and get the points. But you're also not bummed when you lose because you're looking at your thing and it's like, man, I wish I had this menu right now.
Yeah, right. All right. I mean, I still disagree. I think Sneaky Cards has more memorable moments for the person playing because, they're the ones who have to go out. But I do agree on just about everything else. Sushi Go Party moves on.
Yeah, it's because Sushi Go Party is the actual game.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you're right. Sneaky Cards really is an activity. It's a very interesting and unique activity, but it's just an activity.
It's
right.
interesting that they made geocaching basically into a card game.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Don't get me wrong, I don't hate Sneaky Cards. I actually find it amusing. It's just, to me, like I said earlier, it's mainly an activity.
Yep, exactly. So, let's move on to our next bracket. So, Sushi Go Party moved on. Now we have Forbidden Desert versus Abandon All Artichokes. These are two very different games.
It really is, but it's funny. I've only played Abandoned on Artichokes once. It's the last time we had a game night, which was last month. You showed it to me, and I was like, I was resistant on it. I think I'm like, oh my god, that's a stupid theme on it. Yeah. It's like I already played Points Out. How many freaking vegetable games do I need? And I had fun playing it. It was such a simple game, and it's such a simple way to play it. But then you're going up against Forbidden Desert.
Yeah. So
there is a reason why this is one of the favorite games.
Yeah.
Out of Gamewright's line.
This is going to be a tricky one. So, I mean, I'm technically more familiar with Abandon All Artichokes. So
yeah, you are.
But I'm also, I don't know, I'm pretty darn familiar with Forbidden Desert. But I'll stick with Abandon All Artichokes. I'll do the first counter argument. And so I'll explain what it is. Abandon All Artichokes is a brand new game from Gamewright. It just came out like a month ago. Emma Ladd, no, that's not her name. I don't remember the designer's name, but she has a whole designer blog talking about Abandon All Artichokes. That's really cool. The idea, it's like a reverse deck building game, or like a deck deconstruction game in a way. You start off with 10 cards in your deck, and you're going to have 5 cards in your hand at the end of each turn. Those 10 cards are all artichokes. You do not want artichokes. You have to get rid of them. Then there's 10 different types of vegetables that you can take into your deck. So on your turn, you're going to play any cards from your hand that you would like. Then you're going to take a card. You take a card first from the cards that are available. Then you play any number of cards from your hand that you want, including the one that you took. And the idea is you're trying to siphon out those artichokes and get them out as quick as you can. Because as soon as you're done playing, all your cards go to your discard pile. Then you draw 5 more cards. If at the end of your turn they are all none of those are artichokes, then you win the game. So as long as your hand is void of artichokes. So of course the first 2 turns are guaranteed you're not going to win, but then as you start getting more vegetables just by the quantities alone, they're going to be more likely that you'll get those. And there's lots of ways to compost them, as they're called, to get rid of the artichokes, as well as other abilities to give cards to other players, and all sorts of cool manipulations. It works really well. It's a unique take on a deck building idea.
So the way I describe this is people are familiar with a game like Legendary.
Sure.
So in Legendary, you get these cards that are just junk. They're the wound cards.
Wounds,
they do nothing exactly for you. Well, this game is your hand is wounds. It's all wounds. And what you're trying to do is get rid of those wounds in different aspects of it by trading those to other people. So it's your junk cards you start with that you're trying to get rid of, rather than gaining junk as you go along. So I think that's an interesting concept when it comes to deck building, because it's basically you're starting with nothing good. It's not most deck builders. You're like, here's your starting hand. They're not great, but hey, you can buy this or you can beat up this. That's simple. Yeah. This one is like, you got nothing in your hand. Draw 1 card and decide how to play it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just do your best. Hopefully you'll play the best long game. And there's a little bit of random as to if you happen to draw the right hand at the right time. Technically, you can win as early as like turn 6, I think, is what it is, because of getting those cards in. But it's really unlikely, because you only need just one to not win. And I love, one of my favorite things about that is, like, I remember when you and I were playing, and then it's like, all right, it's the end of my turn. It's your turn. Then it's like, you got an artichoke, didn't you? And there's such a weird level of satisfaction just watching someone go, all right, it's your turn.
What I liked about that when we played it is that was going on. I'm like, oh god, he's almost there. Yep. And I played a card, got rid of an artichoke, and I knew there was no artichoke in my deck because I had the 2 artichokes in my hand. Yep. And I got rid of one and put it in your hand, where you were annoyed, but you had like 2 artichokes already in your hand. You're hoping I picked one of them, this way it's just an even trade. Yeah. And so I ended up picking the one that you didn't want me to pick.
The only one, right.
And so I ended up winning because my next hand was completely empty of artichokes. Yep. Because I knew I had 2 artichokes left in my deck, and I had them both in my hand. So.
Yep, exactly. No, it's super cool. I like it a lot.
And I don't disagree. It's a fun game. It's a phenomenal game, but it's going up against Forbidden Desert, and that's going to be an issue with it, because Forbidden Desert to me is the better game. There's a reason. It's been around for so long. Not that long, but in gaming world, it's been around for so long
Yeah.
that there's a reason why it's one of the highest rated. It's a 2 seed, and why it's one of the highest voted games in our thing is because it's a really good implementation of the forbidden aspects while still making it family weight, making it something simple for little older kids. Like Forbidden Island, I could play with a pretty good 8-year-old. But Forbidden Desert, maybe 10, 11, 12, because the concepts of it are a little tricky because the desert coming in, the stuff being buried, you having to dig stuff out, finding shelter when it gets really dry, making sure you don't run out of water. There's a lot going on, and this probably to me has one of the most memorable moments out of all of these games, but maybe other than one, which we'll talk about a little bit later, where you are like, oh my god, we're so close to dying, but if we just get this last part to this ship, we can win. Let's just do it. Go through it, and then I remember when we were playing it at the shop, and we ended up winning. We got so loud and celebrating that everybody turned around to see what was going on.
Yep. You know that's a good sign. When
Yeah.
everybody just stops gaming and goes, huh? What's going on over there?
And I mean, we were literally standing up, saying, yes, we did it, high-fiving everybody.
Yep.
Oh.
Yep. It's super memorable. Yeah.
And go
Yep.
ahead.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I mean, going down the list, ease of play, I wouldn't say that either of them are more difficult than the other.
No, I wouldn't either.
Yeah, because they're both about the same weight. I mean, knowing how to deck
I would
build
say
is
Forbidden Desert is just a little bit more complicated than say
Sure.
Abandoned Artichokes because all you're doing is card shedding in Abandoned Artichokes. You're
That's
just
true.
trying to get rid of cards with a little bit of deck building.
That's true. I mean, if you can know how to read a card, you pretty much know how to play. Art and productions, definitely Forbidden Desert.
Oh, much, yeah.
Meaningful choices, Desert. And probably replay value, yeah. So that means that it would go to Desert. I don't disagree with your argument. But I will say Abandon All Artichokes now, the designer, that she's on my radar now as far as interesting concepts. I will probably look at any game that she designs.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I had a good time. I was resistant to it. Just, I think Abandon All Artichokes is such a weird name. And the thing about Gamewright, they like to make weird boxes for their stuff. They're the ones
Yeah.
that really started the tin situation with board games. They're the ones that do the odd shaped boxes. Abandon All Artichokes being one of them.
Yep. Because it's shaped like an artichoke and it's a tin and it has a
Not to
recycled
mention,
input.
Rory Story
insert.
Cubes has one of those bubble blisters that
Yeah.
you can see in and look at the cubes, and I hate those things.
Yep. So I don't disagree with that. But so that means Forbidden Desert moves on.
Yep. And it sucks because, like I said, the 2 and 7 and the 3 and 6, which is the next bracket we're going to talk about, are my favorite brackets on here.
Yes.
There's two games I don't really care for because we mentioned it, Sneaky Cards. It's an activity more than a game. And then there's one I just absolutely don't like.
Yeah, which we'll get to soon.
Yeah.
I would like to take Dragonwood on this one.
Okay, I'm not too familiar with Trash Pandas. I've only played it the one time. I did have fun with it.
All right, then I'll take Trash Pandas. Let's counter argument. Go for it. Dragonwood.
So, to me, Dragonwood is probably my personal favorite on this list. And I'm not going to try to take my bias out of it, but it's such a simple game that I've gotten people into this game while we were at Village Inn. We were actually having a nerd book club meeting while we were playing this game because it's so simple. You have a line of cards. There's some good stuff in it. There's some bad stuff in it. You play a set collection of cards. If you play the numbers in succession, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then you do, I think it's called stomping, where you, depending on how many cards you spin, is how many dice you get to roll up to, what is it, 8, 6?
6.
But that's not the only way to do it. Some monsters are easier to kill if you scream at them. So that way, just play cards of one color. You get the same amount of dice. That's the move you're doing. You have to announce what you're doing, but yeah, you do that. You announce what you're doing. So I'm going to scream. I'm going to play the 3 colors of one thing, and I'm going to roll my dice, and I'm going to try to take this monster. And the other one is the colors, the 1, 2, 3.
Screaming, stomping, and striking.
Yeah, but it's same color in a row, like a straight, or same number.
The same color, a straight, or a number, yeah.
Those are 3 things that you can do. There's 3 aspects. And then there's things that's going to help you too. So you can say, hey, I'm going to scream at this card because I know if I grab this card, it's going to make my striking so much easier.
Yep.
Because it's
The
giving me a
enhancements.
+1 or something like that to it. Or I can add to my roll or add whatever it is to the roll. There's a card that's very powerful. But there's bad things that happen too. Certain things come out and you have to discard down to a certain amount of number. You have to get rid of a certain amount of cards. And the way the game ends is the first person to defeat both dragons or the deck runs out twice.
Yes.
It's such a simple game. It plays in 10 to 15 minutes. We played multiple rounds of this. And then there's a little variant in there too, so that you can do like a certain magic spell if you use a certain amount of numbers. I forget what it is because I hardly ever play with that variant, where you can automatically defeat a dragon if you use a certain amount of cards a certain way. It's like 1 through 6 or like 12 or whatever.
Yeah, I don't remember that.
It's in the book. It's in the rule book. I just hardly ever play it that way.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, no, I do agree. Dragonwood is one of the best introduction like in the game, and I've created so many gamers just with Dragonwood alone. It's like simple concept. You're basically playing gin rummy and then rolling some dice and killing things with dice. And who doesn't like doing that?
I understand why you wanted to take it, because you have brought in a lot of people.
Yep.
Like Magic players, you showed them this, and they're in love with that game for the longest time. That's all they ever played when they came over.
Yep. Yeah, they hand requested that every single week. It was awesome. So let's talk Trash Pandas then. Counter argument time. Here we go. Trash Pandas, awesome push your luck dice rolling, token taking, card playing game. Basically, you are Trash Pandas, which are raccoons, trying to get the yummiest food. So what you can do on your turn is you will basically be pushing your luck, which I'll talk about in a minute, and you're trying to get cards in your hand and then play them and stash them for points. You can either play them as their abilities, which is pretty cool. Each different type of food has a different ability, or if you stash them away, that will score points at the end of the game. Those points will go to whoever has the most or second most of that. So for example, I think pie, I think, is one of them. It's like a pizza. It looks disgusting. There's like a bottle cap on it. It's really gross. Whoever has the most of those, I think, gets 6 points and then 4 points for the second most. So that's an example of that. So whoever has the most pizzas will get 6 points. But that's at the end of the game. On your turn, what you're going to be doing is you have a single die that has 6 different actions on it. And then you have 6 tokens that are in there. You roll the die and you take the token. Then you can choose to keep rolling if you want. As long as you're able to roll the die and then take a token, you can keep going. But if you roll the die and you roll a face that you've already taken, your turn is over, and I think you just draw a card, and then your turn is over. So it doesn't completely hurt you. However, so you have that cool little push your luck aspect going on because you want to play more cards. But each card has its own special abilities. So you can do stuff like you can stop other people from playing, or you can steal stuff from them, or you can re-roll the dice, or prevent busting, all sorts of cool stuff. And it has a really silly flavor, a really silly art style. I mean, everything is, like, there's Nanners, I think, is the banana version. There's Ooh Shiny, and I think it's like silverware or something. It's
Not to mention, there's some bad stuff in there too, right? You got the dog, you have cats,
Doggo and Kitty. Yeah. But I mean, those are bad for the other players because you play it against them. Like, or no, like if you were trying to steal from me, I could play one of those in response
scare me away.
and prevent you. Yeah. So there's a lot going for it. It's, despite it being like a simple push your luck game, there's a lot of depth to it. A lot more than it seems.
I don't disagree. I really do enjoy the game when we played it. We actually played it this year.
Yeah.
It seems like a long time ago, but it was early part of this year before all the lockdown and the quarantining happened. And I remember having a blast of it, and I wanted to show you something.
Was I the first one to show you this? I think I was, right?
Yeah.
Were you...
anytime you get a new Gamewright game, you make us play it.
Okay, so I'll have to make a list of all the Gamewright games that I own, and I'll just bring them.
But yeah, so I wanted to show you something before we make our decision on what's going on, is that there is a minor league baseball team called the Rocket City Trash Pandas. They're based out of Huntsville, Alabama, and check out this hat.
That's pretty great. I like that. Now, no more show and tell, Daniel. You always get on my case for showing. That's awesome. I really
I
like
knew
that.
that was coming, so
Yeah. No, it's all good. No, I think it's fine for the video
oh, it didn't
viewers.
show up on the it didn't show up on the screen. It was half pulled off. I just looked at it right now.
Oh, was it? Oh, well, sorry
Yeah,
about that. You can put it back on. Go ahead.
yeah, I'm looking for it
All
right
right.
now. I had it, but
But
I
I
took it off because I was done. But yeah, so for me personally, I think Dragonwood should move on.
Yeah, and I think just barely. I mean, if Trash Pandas was up against just about anything else, there you go. If Trash Pandas was up against anything else on the list, it would have a lot easier of a time. Because both of the one of them is Push Your Luck, one of them is Set Collection. I like both of them a lot. They're probably like number 3 and 4 Gamewright games for me. Uh,
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean Trash Pandas, and also I mean Dragonwood has amazing components, and it's $15 to
yeah,
buy.
it's a phenomenally made game.
Yeah,
It has dice in there
six
that are
custom
simple for
dice.
like if
Yep,
you're playing with kids because they're numbered rather than pips.
yep,
So it makes it easier for kids to get a hold of that game. The artwork is phenomenal in it. In it for Gamewright, I have to say this for Gamewright, for as cheap as their games are, they're highly and well produced.
yes, yeah, very very much so. I mean, if you want bang for your buck, Gamewright is where you go. There's few companies that put that much effort into their production value than Gamewright does.
It's such a low price point too.
Yeah, Trash Pandas is
That's a
10. Sushi
huh?
Go Party Trash Pandas is $10, and you can buy it at Walmart. So
Yeah.
go buy it.
Dragonwood is like
15.
15.
Dragonwood is
Uh,
15. Forbidden Desert's
Trash Pandas is
25.
relatively cheap. Abandoned All Artichokes is about
Bendel
10,
Artichokes I
$15.
think is like 12.
Yeah,
So yeah, Sneaky
I
Cards is
think the
12.
most expensive game that we have on this list is Forbidden Desert,
Yeah.
and even then, it's not that expensive. I think it's like $30.
No, it's 25.
25. Well,
Yeah.
that was not that far off.
Still,
Yeah,
right? Forbidden Island is like 18, right? So I mean, yeah, no, they're phenomenal production, good deals.
at great price
Yeah.
points,
So that means Dragonwood moves on.
and we'll be facing Forbidden Desert.
Yep. And the winner of the next one will be going up against Sushi Go Party. So let's get to it. We have Tiki Topple versus Rory Story Cubes.
Tiki Top open upset. Let's go.
All right. So let's go on to the semifinals. No. We
Now
we kind
we're
of
going
did
to try
this.
to take our bias out of this.
Okay.
In all honesty,
All right. You're gonna argue for Rory Story Cubes. So Tiki Topple, the way.
it's fine. You know Tiki Topple better than I do.
Yeah.
Rory Story Cubes. I mean, know the basis of it, but
Yeah. Well, do you still own Tiki Topple? I don't remember. I know I gave you a
I
copy.
think you did. I think I do. I don't know if I own it. No,
Yeah.
no, you didn't give me a copy. I bought it. You just pointed it out to me and say, "Hey, try it. It's like $4."
Yeah, we got it. It was either super clearance or at a thrift store or something.
Savers, yeah,
Yeah,
Savers.
Savers. Yeah, so it was only a
think
few
I
bucks.
still have it. I don't know.
Yeah, it's one that I used to own. The production is really cool. You have like these little tracks on the board. It's like a seated board, and you have wooden tiki like totem pieces. And the idea is you're trying to stack them up and get your personal one up as high as you can, but yours is secret compared to everybody else. So like I might have the blue one as an example. I want to get that as high as possible because only the top 3 I think score, or the
You
3
also gotta be
remaining.
smart about it though,
Mhm.
because you don't want to let other people know which one yours is. So maybe you're
Right.
gonna move the yellow one up with the blue one, and just people are gonna be like,
Yes, or you have a lot of cards that you can move and manipulate this stack, but you also have ones that at the end of a certain number of turns, the bottom one is just removed from the game, and then the tikis all get shorter. And so that's really important, is to not have your main ones down at the bottom, because then hey, you're not gonna get
it's
anything from
what,
it.
2 or 3 per color.
Something like that. It has been a long time since I played it, but it is a legitimately interesting strategy game. Now there is luck of what you have card wise, and there
Yeah.
is luck of, I mean, you don't have to know that I have blue, but if you have green, I don't have green. So as long as you prevent green from getting eliminated, you don't care what is eliminated, which might
yeah.
be blue. So fighting that uphill battle is a little tricky, but overall, it's pretty neat.
So my counter argument is Tiki Tapo moves on. So, all right, taking my bias out of this, Rory Story Cubes is a storytelling game. What you do is you get a number of dice and you're rolling them, and you're trying to be the best storyteller with the dice that you are saying. And I think it's like the same story that everybody's telling, just based on their cubes, or
Something like that.
and then you have to go, okay, so I rolled this. Okay, so he went up this mountain because he had to make this quest based on he had to get rid of this stick and so forth.
Yeah.
Because this is a stick of power or something like that. And you're telling this story, and people are trying to continue the story, something along that line, and people are voting on who did the best story. And yeah, it's just not my style. To be truthfully honest.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, 2 times I played this, I was miserable the entire time because I'm not a good storyteller.
Yeah.
This is something for people who like telling stories, like Dungeons and Dragons and stuff like that, who are good DMs. Me, I'm not an ad-libber. I like reading stories, I like listening to stories, but I don't like creating stories.
Yeah.
And this one, to me, it's a fine thing, but it goes along to me along the same points as Sneaky Cards, not as much so, but it's more of an activity. You're just hanging out with your friends and telling a story and rolling
Right.
dice. That's the basis of the game. The winner of the game is the person who told the best story. That's really all it is, and that's voted on by everybody else in the thing. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's fine, but
So being a former educator of myself, I wanted to use these in the classroom to help get the kids more creative and being able to like source this idea of like, sometimes writers have writer's block and they don't know what to write about. Well, this is a solution for that. You start just writing about whatever. Guess which game never got played in my class?
this one.
This one. And even if I forced it, it was begrudgingly, and even like kids didn't enjoy it that much. It's a cool creative tool for the right people. It works. We're not those people, and most gamers aren't.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
and there are better games like
surprisingly, it is
Dixit.
high up on the list, but again, we had to go through the dredges, and we eliminated 2 games because they played similar to another game. So
Right.
this might not even made the list if we had played the actual top 20 games or
Right.
something like that.
I mean, let's compare it to like Trash Pandas. Trash Pandas, like I have a lot of push your luck games, and that would probably fall within my top 10. It's really good. Storytelling games, I mean, I know I'm not a storytelling fan, but there are so many better, Dixit
Yeah.
and like hundreds of others that are
Yeah,
just a better
Dixit
game.
is a phenomenal storytelling game compared to Rory Story Cubes. I do want to try Among the Stars from Smirk and Laughter. That seems like a very
Yeah.
phenomenal, and it was on our list of games, exception to the rule for you. You're
Yeah.
not a fan of storytelling games, yet you had Among the Stars on that list.
That's right.
But there's a reason why I don't like storytelling games, and it's because Rory Story Cubes. I just didn't have fun playing it, and that was my first aspect coming into storytelling game. The only other game I played in that line is Dixit. I enjoyed it, but I liked what they did when Mysterium came out. You're using the Dixit mechanics, but you're making a game around it.
Yeah, making an actual game instead of just telling stories for points.
Yeah.
I agree. So that means Tiki Topple moves on. And that was it for our quarterfinals. Daniel, would
And
you
so
like to tell
for
us
ev-
how many
I was
votes?
going to
Yeah.
jump into that right now. For everybody who's wondering the vote totals here. Sneaky Cards tied for 6th place with 0 points. The next one on my list here, Abandon All
7.
Artichokes, at rank 7. It was our number 4 game on this list. Or sorry, so the Sneaky Cards was 5. Was Abandon All Artichokes was 4 with 1 vote. Number 6, Trash Pandas was eliminated, and it was ranked 3 on our list with 2 votes. And it was tied with Rory Story Cubes, who just recently got eliminated, with 2. And so both of those were tied for 3.
All right. So there we go. On our next round, we will have Sushiko Party versus Tiki Topple and Forbidden Desert versus Dragonwood. So stay tuned. We're going to take a very quick break and come in back for our semifinals. Let me confirm. And welcome back to Everyday Board Games Podcast. We just took a very quick break. This is our top 8 debate for Gamewright Games. Going on to the semifinals right now. Daniel, Were there any upsets for you?
No, this is to me probably the best 4 games on this list, except for maybe Trash Pandas and Abandoned Artichokes. I would love to see them move on,
Yeah,
but they went up against some juggernauts.
yeah. They had they been a little less new and more players have played it, I feel like it would have toppled Tiki Topple.
Yeah, I think Tiki Topple is probably the weakest game on this list comparing the other 3,
Hmm.
just because it's a fine game, but
Yeah,
it had the luck of the draw going up against Rory Story
yeah.
Cubes.
I think I'm just gonna make a whole bag of Gamewright games to bring tomorrow, just like so we can play in between actual like big games and stuff. I'll
Well,
bring.
yeah, because we're going to be playing
Yeah,
at least a couple of my big games that I want to get to the table: Pan Am and Teotihuacan.
I like how you say Pan Am is a big game because like compared to Teotihuacan, it's nothing, right? But compared
Yeah,
to
but
these
it's still
games, it's massive.
compared to Game Right. And honestly, from everything I've read and reading the rule book, it's a simple economic game in
Yeah,
a sense, but it's an economic game, so it's not going to be that simple.
right. Yeah, it no matter how simple you make it, we'll see. All right, so then that means let's go on to the semifinals. We have Sushi Go Party versus Tiki Topple.
I'll let you go ahead and take Sushi Go Party
So
because
Sushi Go Party, yeah, it's the sequel to Sushi Go, which was the hit from Gamewright. That's really what put Gamewright on the, that and Forbidden Island were the two that put Gamewright
yeah,
on most of our lists. Sushi Go, as you were saying earlier, is a very simple drafting game. Pick a card, pass it. What Sushi Go Party did is expand it to 8 players, give you variable menu items that you can change in and out for each game, and still have all the same simplicity and fun as the base game. It's super awesome. Um, I am gonna make some counter arguments or some arguments right now for it. As far as ease of play goes, yes, it is simple. It is pick a card that counts for points. You do have to think about what you have to do, and I would say arguably against the complexity of play a card and move a tiki, that's technically more work than just I have a hand of cards. Yeah, I'll take that one. You know, but the problem is that can lead to arbitrary choices. So I don't think it beats it out as far as meaningful choice.
oh, which one? Tiki Topple?
Yeah, I think meaningful choices to Tiki Topple, personally. I'm not saying that there's not a meaningful choice in Sushi Go, but I think the fact of having to play the cards and bluff what you have is way more important than just like looking over at the other player and hate drafting them. Because in the like you can hate draft people in Sushi Go, but you're not benefiting yourself really.
Yeah.
I mean you can, it's okay, but it's not that's not what it leads to.
Yeah, it's not
So
a benefit. Yeah.
meaningful choices I think would go to Tiki Topple. But ease of
Not
play
by
is
much.
Sushi Go. Yeah, not by much. Uh, art and production, it's going to be so hard with production because the art in both of them are really good. The design makes more sense in Tiki Topple because of how the cards draft. I mean, the art of the sushi doesn't make sense other than tempura and sashimi.
I do have to say, in Sushi Go Party, I do like the fact that you're actually building the menu, so everybody
Yeah,
knows what cards are in place when
right.
you put the menu together. I do like that.
Agreed.
Really, it doesn't really do much to the game. It's a nice aesthetic.
I feel like replay value definitely goes to Sushi Go Party.
Oh, big time. Yeah.
Yeah. And game immersion, you kind of said it earlier, it would go to Sushi Go Party because you could play that at a sushi restaurant or you can get hungry for sushi playing it.
Yeah.
And,
Talking about it's making me hungry.
yeah, I mean, like, and technically, theme matching mechanism, you're like, oh, you're picking from a menu. That really does match. You're like, I want that, I want that. Although the fact of, like if I pick sashimi doesn't mean you can order it. Ha ha, that doesn't make sense. But, having the puddings at the end of the meal, so count for end of the game scoring, all sorts of stuff. It's got to go to Sushi Go Party.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you. As much as I like Tiki Couple, it's not a bad game at all. But to me, I agree with everything you just said when it comes to those things. Like, yeah, meaningful choices. There are a bit more meaningful choices in Tiki Topple, but there is a bit where it is arbitrary choices because you're beholden to what you draw on the cards and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yep, no, I completely agree. So we agree that Sushi Go Party moves on.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry if you heard a door. That was my son coming in and then not paying attention that I was on the screen, and I think he was staring at his phone at some point. Anyway, so Sushi Go Party
Probably
moves
about
on.
Stardew Valley.
Yeah, probably on Stardew Valley. Yeah, nothing wrong with that. So now we have Forbidden Desert versus Dragonwood. This one hurts me,
This one hurts me as well.
but I already know which one I feel is going to move on.
All right, I kind of agree with you, so let's just see. I'm going to count to three. You're going to name the one you think is going to move on, and I'm going to name the one I think is going to move on. Ready?
But we both know.
1, 2, 3.
Forbidden Desert. Yeah. Okay. It has to be Forbidden Desert because they're both very good games, but the fact is Forbidden Desert not only is cooperative, it's not random. You're not rolling dice to decide what
exactly.
happens.
Don't get me
Dragonwood,
wrong,
you can
I
get
love
hosed.
Dragonwood.
Yeah.
Dragonwood's my favorite on this list, and I hate the fact that I'm going to eliminate it. Agree with you with eliminating it, but when we go down to it, I think the only one it really, really has a chance of winning is Ease of Play.
Yes.
And that's
It is
because
easier.
it's a really simple game. However, when you go to the replay value, the meaningful choices, the game, mainly the game, meaningful choices, the fact that there is so much more meaningful choice in Forbidden Desert because, again, like you said, the luck factor of it.
All right. Yep. Yeah. I mean, that's what it boils down to. You're either playing
They're
gin rummy
both-
with possible dice rolling versus a legitimate strategy co-op. Like, hey, we got to find these hidden
And
things.
another one that big for me is art production. The art and the dice and everything are beautiful at Dragonwood. But that spaceship that you're fighting all the freaking parts for.
Yep, and how they all fit together. I mean, the engine is made out of actual metal. It's pewter. It's real metal.
Yeah, so as much as I'm not surprised about this, and this is a very quick semifinals, Forbidden Desert has to move on because it is the overall better game. It's not my favorite, but it is the overall better game.
Agreed. So that means Sushi Go Party will be facing Forbidden Desert in the finals, which we're going to jump straight to.
But before we do that, Tiki Topple was one of the other games ranked at 5 with 0 votes. So was Dragonwood, which that one hurts me a lot because Dragonwood is a phenomenal game and it got no votes.
Yeah,
you almost want to put it into 4th place with abandon all artichokes and put a vote on it myself. But
yeah, no, that's proof of what I was saying earlier. I feel like Dragonwood having no votes is a perfect example of people saying, "Oh, it's Gamewright, it's a kid's game, put it away from me." Yeah. That's proof of that because Dragonwood is a phenomenal game, and people just don't give it a shot because of it.
All right, let me get ready to get into the finals.
It's a shame.
Here we go.
All right, here we go.
There we go.
All right, final time. Boom.
And as I mentioned earlier, the way we do the finals is we don't pick a side. We just go through the discussion and talk about how we see these games play out. And so the way we do it, as I said earlier, is ease of play, replay value, meaningful choice, game immersion, and art production.
Yes.
But each one of those have a subcategory. With ease of plays, we have simplicity and familiarity to the mechanism. Likely to get to the table initially, and does it have analysis paralysis prone? Is it very prone to that? You want to tell them about replay value?
Sure. Replay value has minimum number of plays for the full experience, player range and scale and time, or player range and scaling and timing. You know what I mean.
Yeah.
How many players it can account for and how well it scales based on that. And additional content, which we always count as number of expansions and ones that have been guaranteed to be announced.
Confirmed, yes.
Yep.
Next up, we have meaningful choices, and this is what we were talking about earlier with some of the games when we're going with impacting other players. Does the choices that you make in this game impact the other players playing the game, as well as the impact on your long-term strategy? The choices I make in this game, are they going to carry me on all the way through, or is there a possibility of pivoting, or do I have to follow my long-term strategy?
Yeah.
As well as arbitrary choices, which we have talked about earlier, where are you beholden to the luck of the draw or the dice roll, or do you have to make smart, methodical choices as you play the game?
Yep.
Next
Agreed.
up is game immersion. You want to go through that?
Game immersion, yes. It says theme matching mechanisms. How well does the theme itself match the mechanisms of the game, and how well does that immerse you into the game itself?
Mm-hmm.
Player interaction. Now, not mechanistically wise, but how much interaction, how much table talk is going on amongst the players in the game, and how well are they getting into character?
Yeah, like if you're playing a co-op game, does it play very well? Or if you're trash talking as you're playing the game too,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah, if you're
about
playing
immersion.
pirates, are you yelling "R" at each other? Does the game allow for that?
Yeah.
And then memorable moments. Which ones have those moments where you just everybody stops and you go, "Wow, that was
Yeah,
something."
exactly. And finally, we also have art and production. And the way we go about this is we talk about the art. We mentioned it in the other ones, how this is a beautiful game. The artwork is in this game. Big part of it, too, is pieces and components. The component quality. Are they just cardboard, or do they go out of their way and put plastic pieces in there?
Yep.
Or is it good cardboard? Is it good cardstock? Is it good card quality? As well as the graphic design fitting the game. Is it a good design to the game?
Yep, exactly. So, with that being said, I do see two of them that I feel are very much already towards one category. And
Alright, so I'm going to say you think Ease of Play for Sushi Go?
yes, I feel ease of play definitely goes to Sushi Go because, of course, everybody knows what sushi is. My 8-year-old daughter knows what sushi is. She doesn't know what trapped in a desert is. Well, wait, we're in New Mexico.
We live in New Mexico. It's called the land of entrapment for a reason.
Right, exactly. No, but likelihood of getting it to the table. I mean, the adorable kawaii, I think is the term. Like
Yeah.
super adorable sushi with faces on it, and there's no AP prone. You can't be AP prone because you're looking at your hand and you pick a single card and pass
How's
the
it going to
rest.
benefit me? The only possible ability of being AP prone is if you just take a little bit of time to see whatever everybody else has at the table.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel ease of play definitely goes to Sushi Go Party.
No, I agree with you. So I'm trying to see what the other one you think is automatic. Art production, you're saying goes to Forbidden Island or Forbidden Desert.
Nope. Well,
Oh, that's
I do think that. I'll explain why in a minute. But I feel replay value goes to Sushi Go Party.
I agree with you on that one. Replay value, length of time, and scaling well. Sushi Go Party, Sushi Go, I think can only hold up to 4 players. Where Party actually allows you
four
to
or
go to,
five.
I think it's 6.
8.
8,
It
yeah.
plays up to
so
8
you
players.
can have a whole lot of players on that because of all the stuff in there.
Exactly, and
It
it's
doesn't
just
even
as
need
fast.
an it doesn't even need an expansion
Right.
because of all the stuff in it.
Yeah, exactly. And so they did a perfect solution. It has everything the base game has, plus everything else can handle 8 players. What really tipped it in there, because I think, if I'm not mistaken, as far as additional content, neither of them have expansions. Both of them have one promo card. And I was thinking, well, what about other games in the series? Well, there's Sushi Go and Sushi Roll, or Forbidden Island and Forbidden Sky. The same thing, right? But what
it's
tips
pretty much
it?
the same thing.
Yeah, it's a wash. But what tipped it as far as
I know what you're going to say. What tip?
yeah,
It's
it's
minimum
minimum
numbers
of
of full
players.
experience.
The variable menus, the starting setup, that did it. I mean, you have a sure you mix the tiles in Forbidden Desert, but your objective is the exact same. You can change difficulty.
You're
That's
using
it.
the exact same cards. It's just how you drew them up, how the bad stuff is happening.
Yeah.
And the only thing you can change it out really is the difficulty level. You can
Yep.
put more cards in to make it more difficult, or take more cards out to make it less difficult.
Yep, that's it. That's the only variability in startup. So I mean, that's not to put it down. It's just it's clear that would go to a Sushi Go Party because of that variable setup and all the different menu items.
And so mine that I was saying earlier, I think Forbidden Desert should get art and production just because.
Okay. So let's think about that real quick. First off, the art is phenomenal in both, right? I mean, even if we gave it to Sushi Go, which I mean that'd be begrudgingly so, right? The pieces and components definitely go Forbidden Desert because there's just way more.
Yeah, we talked about it earlier in the last round when it comes down to that toy factor with that ship and the pewter. And then I think the graphic design with it works phenomenally well too.
I think it's better than Sushi Go because Sushi Go explains everything that it is. They didn't use icons. You don't really, if you couldn't read it, you wouldn't know how to play the game. Whereas the cross sections and the icons of the different pieces, They make a lot of
And then not
sense.
just that, when you have the tiles where you can get underground when it's got
Oh
like
yeah.
the sun baking,
Yep.
or the well that allows you to draw up water, or
Yep.
the tunnel that allows you to jump across
Mm-hmm.
to the other side if you have both uncovered.
Yep.
Yeah, I think just the way that all works and on the tiles is just phenomenal.
Agreed. Yeah. So art and production will go to uh, Forbidden Desert.
And so my next one that I think should go to the other one of the games is meaningful choices. I just think
Forbidden
Forbidden Desert
Desert.
has much more meaningful choices when it comes to it.
Yeah. So impacting others. I mean, for better or worse, what you do directly impacts the party, and the fact that
Yeah.
when you lose, everyone loses. You
Yeah,
don't play
and
it
it's
out.
not just that. You can impact another player in Sushi Go Party by drawing a card that you know they want, but are you helping yourself or are you just hurting them?
Yeah.
Whereas this one, I have to be in Forbidden Desert. I can't make an arbitrary choice, and that's another thing in meaningful choice, because everything I do
Yeah.
doesn't just affect me; it affects everybody at the table.
And there's also the factor that if we're playing 8 players, and if you and me are across the table from each other, I'm not affecting you. There's
Yeah,
nothing I can do that would affect your play. It's
yeah,
it's
not
not gonna
really.
matter. Yeah. 4 turns down, not gonna matter. So
And that goes along with long-term strategy because you have to work with everybody for a
yeah.
long-term strategy of how we're going to do this. Okay, this is my special ability, so let me take care of this. If we're getting more water, give it to me because I have this carrying tank where I
Yep.
can go out and try to make sure, basically the medic, go out and make sure you guys aren't running out of water, or else we're going to lose. Because if one of us dies, as you said, that's it.
Yeah.
We're done.
So really what it boils down to is game immersion. This is
Yep.
what it decides. Theme matching mechanism, player interaction, memorable moments. Okay. So this is good. I think this is going to be the hardest part of this debate. It really is.
It really is.
Because the theme matching mechanism, you in Sushigo, you are putting together a menu. That's the theme. Is you're trying to get the best meal. As you're getting all these pieces, it's basically a buffet. You're taking these pieces; they have to
Think of
work
it like
together
what
in a
he did
meal.
in Sushi Roll, where you're
Yep.
having the little conveyor belts.
Yep.
You're having all those going around. That you're basically at a sushi bar
Yeah.
that is have those little conveyor belts where you're picking and choosing what you want.
Yep. You only have time enough to pick one dish. It goes on to the next player. Oh, there's the next one. I have to take one dish. That it
So to me
matches.
personally, that does really match the mechanism
Yeah.
if you look at it in that aspect.
Whereas the theme in Forbidden Desert is you're trapped in a desert. You're trying to survive while finding pieces to this mythical ship to build it to escape. You're having to deal with the storm moving the tiles around and burying things under sand.
And
You're
not only that, you got to worry about the sun too.
Yep, the sun beating down. That's a whole different thing. I would say they're both. I would have to call it a wash.
So would I, just for the fact that, yeah, you're moving around, you got this going on and everything going on. But the
Yeah.
fact that the bad stuff is, we both live in a desert. We know we get those windstorms every March, April, May area.
Yep.
We also get really brutal heat that if you're out there for too long, you
Mm-hmm.
will dehydrate.
Yep.
So, yeah, they really do give you that
Yeah.
matching feel to it. Like I'm really making my best sushi meal, but I'm also in a desert and it's kicking my butt.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. We got to call it a wash. It's super close.
The one I will give to Forbidden Desert is
Memorable.
interaction with the other player
Oh,
because
okay.
of the table talk that's really involved in it. Because you have to work with the other teams. The only time you really get major table talk during the Sushi Go Party is when you're yelling at someone because they took the tempura that you've been waiting for.
Well, I agree with that, but at the same time, like it. I feel like we're talking about the strategy of the game. I feel like it's a little less immersive in Forbidden Desert because you're so focused on like, okay, we got to you make sure you're in the tunnel, make sure you're doing that. It does make sense thematically, but it doesn't feel like, hey, come over here, I found this piece. Like you're just gonna have to be in the
But thing
sun for a
hey,
while. Let's
can
hope.
you get your character over here? Or like if I'm playing the medic, or the water guy, I can't remember what his
Yeah.
name is in the game. But if I'm
Water
playing that,
carrier.
I'm thematically going, hey, are you good with water? Hey, are you good with water? How's your water level
Yeah.
going? Okay, I'm gonna try to go over there and make sure you're safe. I really
Right.
do feel like I'm playing that medic role, that I'm immersed in
Right.
my character because I have to make sure everybody's doing what they need to do. Everybody's
Yeah.
are safe because if we lose one, we lose everyone.
Yeah. But then at the same time with Sushi Go Party, though, you're like, oh yeah, look at this sashimi. Oh yeah, it's so delicious. Oh my god,
Yeah,
I'm
and don't get
drowning
me
in
wrong.
pudding right now. It's so
But
good.
it's, for me, the because the constant table talk that is just inherent when it comes to co-ops is there. The
Yeah.
big thing for me with Sushi Go Party is I played it without ever speaking to anybody other than saying, "Why did you take that card? I need that card."
Okay. I see your argument.
And,
That makes sense. What do you think? So we talked about this briefly before, how where you've been playing uh, Sushi Go Party, and you're like, man, this game's making me hungry. I feel like that falls under player interaction, doesn't it? Because why else would you say that if
well,
you're
that's why we've learned to actually, eat food while playing the
while playing the game?
game.
But isn't that's like another level of player interaction, though, doesn't it?
It really is.
Um,
But the big part of it is like out here in New Mexico, I can't really eat certain sushi because they put avocado into everything.
right, yeah. I mean, well, that's an unfortunate, but it got you thinking about it, though.
Yeah,
I would be okay calling it a wash because
I'll
I
give you
feel,
that as a wash. Yeah,
yeah, because I do feel like our next one is going to be pretty obvious,
yeah.
memorable
Remember,
moments.
I talked about it already.
Yeah,
The fact that the first time I played it at the shop when we thought we were gonna lose and we didn't see hope, and
yep,
then we ended up winning, and we literally started
barely
screaming. We
irked it
jumped
out.
for the table. We were all high fiving. That stopped the entire comic shop.
Yeah, yeah. No, I completely agree. It's that level of satisfaction and how engrossed you are into the whole game as a whole, and then that point where you beat it. That's a stand up moment every single time because you knew you fought uphill to do it. Whereas
Yeah.
Sushi Go, you passed me some cards. Okay, cool.
Alrighty. So with that being said, everything we wrote down, Forbidden Desert squeaked it out.
It did, based on one part of based on one third of one category. Forbidden Desert wins.
Yeah, like I said, it squeaked it out. So our top two vote getters were the two that were still here, Sushi Go Party and Forbidden
Yep.
Desert. If it went down to tiebreaker, Forbidden Desert still would have ended up winning because it
Okay.
got 21 votes, as Sushi Go Party only had 19. That's how close these two were in that poll
Yeah.
compared to the other games. Trash Panda was our third game with 2.
Wow. Yeah, that says it right there. But I mean, those are all solid games. Good
Forbidden
job for
Island, which was added by someone else, their honorable mention had 5. It had 3 more
yeah,
than our third place.
yeah. And I wonder like how much of that. I mean, we only in Gamewright have we actually argued Phil Walker Harding versus Matt Leacock, two of our favorite designers. I think this is the only category we've done that.
That I can think of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Co-op games, maybe. I mean, I don't think they were both in the co-op games. They might not have been.
I don't think Phil Walker Harding has made a co-op game.
Oh yeah, no, he hasn't. Yeah, because Phil Walker Harding doesn't make co-op games. He just makes really elegant, simple
You
games.
got archaeology. You got gizmos.
Yep, Gizmos. No, I don't think he has.
No, I don't think he has either. But
Oh
yeah,
no,
so
adventure game.
that's right. But he worked that with Matthew Dunstan. It wasn't just him by himself.
True. Yeah. So there
And
you go.
I haven't played that yet. I do have it, and I'm going to try it here soon.
Yeah.
Even if I got to do it solo.
Yeah, it's worth it. I think even if your wife is more of a video gamer than you are, right?
Yeah, she is, but she didn't like the point and click adventure type games like this.
See, I don't
That was
blame you.
before her
I
time.
think this would be worth it though. I
I
think
mean, I'll
it'd be
talk to her,
better.
but she's not really into gaming as much
True.
as I am. She's fine with it, but it's not something that she goes out of her way for.
Yeah. Cool.
I think right now she's playing a video game at the moment.
There you go. Well, we want to thank Gamewright for making all these games, bringing them out, and continuing to be more in the hobby market. Thank you for doing that. That's awesome.
And
If anybody from
making
Gamewright is here,
actually really good games. They've really stepped up their games.
for real.
When
Yeah.
it comes to these really short and simple games, but they're just pack a lot of fun in it. Abandoned All Artichokes, Trash Pandas, relatively new, still
Surprising.
really fun games.
Yep. So,
So
what
people, you need to go out there and play some Gamewright games.
yes, and definitely Dragonwood. That's the one. Anybody who hasn't played Dragonwood, go play Dragonwood. I couldn't
I
agree
agree.
more on that. After we're done recording, I am gonna grab all of my Gamewright games that you haven't played, Daniel. I'm throwing them in a bag. I'm bringing them tomorrow. It's happening. We'll get like all 6 of them done in an hour. It'll be fine. It'll be a good fun. Well, this was a fun episode. If you want to join in for our conversation for next week, we normally film Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on twitch.tv/everydayboardgameslive. Live isn't part of it, but Everyday Board Games,
Yeah.
you can join us live.
Times vary, just so everybody knows. Sometimes we at noon, sometimes later in the day, just all depending.
Yep.
You can also find the re-uploads of these videos on our YouTube channel at Everyday Board Games 2020, as well as the audio versions on Podbean at Everyday Board Games Podcast. There is a typo in the link, so you might be able to find it under Everyday Board Games 2020 if you need to. My bad, but I've already got money invested, so... But that's how you can find it, as well as you can find us on Twitter with a link to everything that we've just talked about at EBG Podcast 2020.
And if you'd like to email us or contact us directly with your opinions, of course you can comment below if you're watching this on YouTube, or join us in on the conversation live. But if you want to contact us directly with ideas, send us an email at everydayboardgamespodcast@gmail.com. No, is that not it? Did I get it wrong?
Everyday Board Games
2020@gmail.com. I'll get it one of these years.
I know it's we try to have it where it's straight across the board the same thing, but character levels don't allow it to work.
Yep, it happens. Well, with that being said, I've been Daniel.
And I've been Daniel.
And we want to thank you for tuning in to Everyday Board Games Podcast.
Have a good one.